Look, I don't want to start drama. Actually, that's a lie. I absolutely do want to start drama. Today, I'm talking about traditional publishing. And before anybody gets upset, I'm not saying traditional publishing is dying. I'm just saying if traditional publishing and indie publishing were on a reality dating show, traditional publishing would be the contestant saying, "Oh, I just need you to trust the process." And indie publishing would be setting off fireworks, jumping into the pool stark naked, and somehow leaving with all the followers. One of them has stability. One of them has chaos. And unfortunately for everyone involved, I think readers are choosing chaos. So let's discuss, because I have thoughts. And as history has shown, nobody is safe when I have thoughts. Welcome back to the Litdulterous Whore, my fellow literary degenerates. This is the podcast where I read books, ruin books, obsess over books, and occasionally start fights with entire industries. And today's victim is publishing. And honestly, y'all had a good run. Now, before anybody starts clutching their pearls and their sprayed edges and emailing me paragraphs that begin with, "Well, actually, I'm going to need you to hear me out." Today, I'm putting on my sparkliest tinfoil hat, grabbing my conspiracy corkboard, and asking a question that would make half of Book Talk cheer and half of New York publishing executives suddenly develop stress-induced eye twitches. Now, this is the question of the day. Is traditional publishing dying? Or more accurately, is traditional publishing starting to look a little bit like that guy who peaked in high school and still brings up his football championship from 1997? Because lately, something is beginning to feel quite different. And if you've been paying attention to the book world, I really don't think that I'm the only one noticing it. For decades, traditional publishing has always been the dream, the goal, the golden ticket, the gold standard. You got an agent, you got a publisher, you got that book deal. You got validation. You got a fancy launch party where people pretended to understand all about publishing contracts. That was success, baby. End of story. But now, the landscape is looking a little weird. And by weird, I mean readers are getting book recommendations from a woman crying in her car on TikTok. Authors are making six figures from their living rooms. Some indie author named Brittany is releasing 3 books a year, while traditional publishing is still discussing the cover font in a meeting that honestly could have been an email. And somehow, Brittany is the winner. Look, I'm not saying traditional publishing is disappearing tomorrow. Penguin Random House is not currently being loaded into a coffin. Nobody's saying that. Nobody is pulling a Weekend at Bernie's situation with publishing houses. Okay? I'm not doing that. The big 5 are not being lowered into the earth while somebody softly plays Sarah McLachlan in the background. Okay? It's not happening. But, and this is a big, big but, I do think we're watching something shift. And it's something big. It's something weird. Something that feels suspiciously similar to what happened when Blockbuster looked at Netflix and said, "Oh, no, thank you. People enjoy driving to a store and paying late fees." And Netflix was like, "Okay." And then absolutely bodied them, body checked them into extinction. Because here's the thing, readers have changed. The internet has changed. Marketing has changed. Our attention spans have changed. Everything about how we discover books has changed. Sometimes it feels like they're still trying to send people faxes. I swear, some publishing timelines are so long that by the time a sequel comes out, I've gone through several personality changes. I've changed jobs. I've changed my favorite genres. I've developed sudden knee pain. I have forgotten who half the characters are. And at that point, I'm not eagerly anticipating a sequel. No, I don't think anyone is. I'm anticipating being in a long-distance relationship. Meanwhile, indie authors are over there operating like caffeinated cryptoids. You finish book one, you have a good cry, you have a good scream session. You immediately look up the sequel, and the author's like, "Oh, it's already out." Excuse me, what? What do you mean it's already out? I haven't even emotionally recovered from chapter 37 yet. Then you discover book 3 is already out, and the author is currently in the middle of drafting book 4 while answering emails, recording an audiobook, designing all the special editions, running a Facebook group, managing the newsletter, and surviving entirely on caffeine and spite. Honestly, I'm at the point where I'm not 100% convinced that indie authors are actually human. I think they're a government experiment because none of that seems physically possible. And yep, here we are. Then there's book talk. The thing nobody saw coming. No joke. Not readers, not authors, and definitely not publishers. Because once upon a time, publishers controlled the discovery. They were the ones controlling the trends. They decided what got attention. And then Book Talk showed up like a drunk raccoon with a flamethrower and completely changed all the rules. Now a woman can post a 30-second video where she says, "Oh, this book emotionally ruined me." And that's it. That was the marketing right there. There was no strategy. There was no campaign. There was no focus group. Just emotional carnage. And suddenly, 500,000 people are buying that book. The publishing industry is spending millions trying to understand this phenomenon. Meanwhile, readers like me are like, "What do you mean you understand it? Jessica was crying. Obviously, I bought it." So today, we're diving into all of it. The problems with traditional publishing, the things they're getting right, the things they are spectacularly getting wrong. Why readers are becoming more impatient than ever. I am said reader, by the way. And what indie authors are suddenly everywhere. Why Book Talk accidentally became the most powerful marketing department on planet Earth, and whether traditional publishing should maybe be sweating just a little bit, or maybe a lot. We're also going to discuss publishing red flags, play a little game called Indie Author or Sleep Deprived Raccoon. We will also be holding a moment of silence for unfinished fantasy series and determine exactly how long I'd last working at a major publishing house before security escorts me off the premises. My current estimate, 11 minutes, maybe 12, if they provide snacks. So, buckle up, fellow literary degenerates, because today, we're doing what we do best, reading between the lines, dotting harmless drama, and asking questions that absolutely nobody in publishing wants to answer. Let's get into it. Now, before anyone comes at me with pitchforks made of hardcover first editions, let me say this. Traditional publishing has produced some of the greatest books ever written. Some of my very favorite books came through traditional publishing. This is not me standing outside publishing houses throwing rotten tomatoes. This is me looking at the process and asking, are you guys okay? Because from the outside, the entire thing looks absolutely exhausting. Listen, okay? Imagine you're an author. You've spent 2 years writing your masterpiece. Maybe 3, maybe 5, maybe 10 if you're writing fantasy and have invented 17 political systems, 6 religions, and a map that somehow requires a spreadsheet. You've literally poured your soul, your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. You've rewritten it. You've edited it. You cried. You laughed. You lost sleep. You questioned every life decision that led you to this point. You read the same chapter so many times that the words no longer look like words. They're just symbols. They look like hieroglyphs, maybe an ancient curse. You no longer know if your book is brilliant or absolute garbage. You are spiritually unwell. So you send it out to agents. And this is where the fun begins. And by fun, I actually mean psychological warfare. You query and query and query. You become intimately familiar with rejection. At this point, your inbox becomes a haunted house. Every notification causes emotional damage. 50 agents reject you. 20 just ghosted you. One says, this isn't right for my list, which in publishing language literally means, I wish you all the best, but please stop emailing me. Another says, I love the writing, but didn't connect with the story. What does that even mean? Seriously, what does that even mean? It's like saying, I loved the cake, but I really wasn't into the cake part. Like, come on. Then somebody requests a full manuscript. You get out the party poppers. You celebrate. You uncork the champagne. You text everybody you know. You convince yourself this is destiny. And then 3 months later, they reject it. Now you're staring at a wall, wondering if goat farming is your real calling. Then finally, an agent says yes. Cue the celebration. Bring on the tears. Bring on the party. A dramatic TikTok montage. Your family thinks you finally made it. Your friends think you made it. Oh my God, you think you made it. You have not made it. You literally unlocked the next level of the Hunger Games. Congrats. You've completed publishing level 1. Now, welcome to level 2. Now your agent submits your book to publishers. And now you wait. You wait. Oh, you wait. And you wait some more. At this point, you've developed a beard. Even if you're a woman, time has lost all its meaning. Civilizations rise and they fall. Entire TikTok trends were born and died. A child somewhere learns to walk. Your book still being considered. Every time your phone buzzes, your heart leaves your body. Every email starts a medical event. Your resting pulse is now anxious squirrel. Eventually, a publisher buys your book. Oh my God, it's amazing! It's incredible! You did it. You got the deal. You got the dream. You got the phone call every aspiring author fantasizes about. Get that champagne going. There's going to be more tears, more dramatic social media posts. Your relatives suddenly become literary experts despite not reading a book since high school. Everybody asks the same question. When can I buy your book? And that's when the publisher says, fantastic news. You smile. You smile. This book will release in 22 months. 22 months. Let that sink in. 22 months? What? I could create an entirely new human in that amount of time. Twice. I could learn another language. I could develop a complex personality disorder. Yeah. I could become a yoga instructor. I could disappear into the woods and return with life advice. 22 months is not a launch timeline. It's a prison sentence. Now, I know why it happens, okay? There are real reasons. We're talking editing, cover design, marketing, distribution, sales teams, catalogs, bookstores, printing schedules, foreign rights, production logistics. There are 1,000 moving parts. Traditional publishing isn't slow because people are lazy. No, no, no. It's slow because it's a massive machine. And massive machines do what now? That's right. They move slowly. I get it. But readers, we don't care about that. Readers have evolved. Readers now consume content at a pace that should probably concern medical professionals. We'll binge entire television series in one weekend. We watch 12 hours of true crime while we fold laundry. We inhale 6-book fantasy series like they're a tube of Pringles. You cannot tell modern readers, here's a book you're going to become obsessed with, but here, please wait 2 years. That's not anticipation. That's emotional abandonment, especially when you're talking about series. You know what happens when readers finish book 1 today? They are literally out there searching for book 2. I'm not talking tomorrow. I'm not talking next week. I mean 30 seconds later. they're still emotionally unstable from that ending. Their mascara is running all over their face. Their heart rates are elevated. They've got their therapist on standby. And they're already typing, when does the sequel come out? Imagine discovering that answer is, fall of 2028. At that point, readers aren't waiting. They're aging. Some of us have started series so long ago, we need recap videos. Not because the books are complicated, but because we've lived entire lives in between releases. We've read other books. I have forgotten fictional kingdoms. I'm not joking. I have forgotten side characters, their names, what they do, who they are. I've forgotten who the hell betrayed who. I've forgotten why we're even fighting. I've forgotten my own blood type. I forgot what I had for lunch yesterday. Now, by the time the next book arrives, I need a PowerPoint presentation and a support group. Meanwhile, indie authors are over there dropping sequels like surprise albums. It's like, oh, you finished book 1? The sequel is already available. Book 3 is in pre-order. Book 4 is somehow already being edited. The author is currently posting memes on Instagram. Readers have gotten used to that speed. You're not going to talk us out of it now. And once readers get used to the speed, waiting feels painful. Yeah. Like, oh. This is where I think traditional publishing has a real challenge. It's not because the books aren't good. They are. And it's not because the editors aren't talented, because they are. And it's not because the industry isn't important, because it is. But because readers' behavior, it's changed dramatically. Publishing timelines were built for a different era. An era before social media, before Kindle, before Book Talk, before readers could discover a book at midnight and buy it 30 seconds later. We're spoiled! Today's readers expect access. We expect it right now. We're all basically Baruch Assault. I want it now. And honestly, the internet has trained us to be this way. So when traditional publishing asked readers for patience, nah, bruh, I'm out of that. And indie publishing offers instant gratifications. Well, let's just say one of those options sounds a lot more attractive to the average sleep-deprived little book gremlin. And that, my friends, brings us to our next problem. Because speed isn't the only thing indie authors have figured out. No. That's not even close. Okay, we're going to break this down with just a little game. This is today's battle. Traditional publishing executive versus book talk girly. Executive. We've spent 18 months researching market trends. Book talk girly. This book made me throw up. Executive. Excuse me? Book talk girly. 5 stars. Executive. We've carefully analyzed reader behavior. Book talk girly. The shadow daddy touched her hand. Executive. We don't believe this category has broad appeal. Okay. Book talk girly. I haven't stopped thinking about this fictional man since February. We've all been there. Executive. Our projections indicate book talk girly. He knelt. Executive. I'm sorry? Book Talk Girly. He nailed. Sales increased by 400,000 copies. Executive. How? Book Talk Girly. I cried in my car. Executive. That is not marketing. Book Talk Girly. Well, apparently it is. Executive. Our entire business model is collapsing. Book Talk Girly. Anyway, here's 17 books about morally grey men. Good luck. And scene. That is legit, okay? That is literally how this goes. Yeah. I don't even have words for how accurate that was. Now, let's talk about the people who looked at traditional publishing as a process and said, you know what? Respectfully, absolutely freaking not. And who are those people? Indie authors. They are literally the feral children of the publishing world. Queens, the DIY queens, the caffeine-powered chaos goblins. I salute you. And I say all of that with immense affection because indie authors literally looked at the publishing industry and essentially pulled the literary equivalent of, fine, I'll do it myself. And honestly, that may have changed everything. Traditional publishing operates like a corporation. They have departments. They have meetings. There are committees, approved chains. They have marketing plans. They have sales plans. They have acquisition meetings. They have forecast meetings. They have meetings about meetings. They are probably meeting to discuss whether additional meetings are even necessary. Makes sense, right? Meanwhile, indie authors are operating like somebody lit a fire under a raccoon and handed it a laptop. Traditional publishing, we have a 6-stage approval process. Indie author. I wrote this in February and it's live on Amazon by Tuesday. Come on. Traditional publishing, we need 14 meetings to talk about this book. Indie author, I made a Canva graphic and manifested success. And it's working. Traditional publishing, we need to evaluate market viability. Indie author, I saw a TikTok comment section asking for a pirate vampire romance, and now I have written one. Boom. Now let's be fair. Not every indie book is amazing. Okay. Some indie books desperately need an editor. Some needed a second editor. Some needed a third editor. Some needed a priest. Some needed an exorcism. Some needed somebody to be brutally honest, to sit them down and say, baby, no. But here's the thing. Readers don't only care about perfection. Readers care about connection. Readers care about the excitement. Readers care about getting what they want when they want it. And indie authors understand this better than anybody else. Readers finish a book and immediately ask, when is the sequel going to be for sale? Indie author, Thursday. Traditional publishing, spring of 2031. What the fuck? Readers, no thank you. And that's the difference. Because indie authors aren't just publishing books, okay? It's not just about publishing books. They're building ecosystems. They are talking directly to their readers. They have newsletters. They have Discord servers. They have Facebook groups. They're on Patreon. They got Instagram accounts, TikToks, reader communities. They're not standing behind a publishing wall. They're standing right next to their readers. It's less, hey, here's my product, and a lot more of, hey, besties, here's chapter 1. And also, here's a picture of my puppy. I love that. I got the chills, baby. Readers love that. They feel connected. They are invested. They feel like they're part of this journey. And in an age where everybody is desperate, so desperate for connection, that's powerful. That's power, baby. The craziest part? Many indie authors are doing jobs that entire departments handle at traditional publishing houses. They're doing it all. They're the writers. They're the editors. They're doing their own marketing. They're doing their own design work. They're doing their own social media management. They're the customer service reps. They're creating the newsletters. They're doing the audiobook coordinating. They're their own accountants and occasional therapists for readers who just got emotionally destroyed by chapter 42. The amount of work is honestly terrifying. Sometimes I see what successful indie authors do in a week, and I need a nap just looking at the list. But because they're nimble, because they're fast, because they have this ability to pivot immediately, they can respond to readers in a way that traditional publishing simply can't touch. And that's why indie publishing has gone from being viewed as a backup plan to actually becoming the first choice for a growing number of authors. And look, okay, it's not because traditional publishing is bad. I'm really not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But authors now have options. And when you have options, that changes everything. Okay. I'd like now for everybody to bow their heads. We gathered here today to honor unfinished series. Series that began when we still had hope. Series that began before our knees started making weird sounds. Series whose next book are currently traveling here on a horse and cart. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd like to specifically acknowledge the series where book 1 came out during your first marriage. The sequel arrived during your second marriage. And book 3 is expected after retirement. I'd also like to acknowledge fantasy readers. Oh, you brave, brave soldiers. You start a 10-book series knowing full well there's a chance the author dies or changes careers, moves to a mountain, starts raising goats, or just simply forgets. George R. R. Martin, I'm looking at you. And yet, you continue. Remarkably, I love this behavior. Truly, you keep plodding on. Brave soldiers. Okay, now, let's talk about the thing that completely detonated the old publishing model. Yep, it's my old friend Book Talk, or as I like to call it, the accidental supervillain origin story of modern publishing. Because for decades, traditional publishing controlled discovery. Publishers decided which books got pushed. Publishers decided what was important. Publishers decided what readers saw. Yeah. Publishers held the megaphone. Then TikTok showed up, and suddenly nobody knew what was happening anymore. Now, some random woman posts a video. The whole thing's not even any longer than 20 seconds. And she's crying. Her mascara is running. She's staring off into the distance like she's just witnessed a crime. The caption: "This book ruined my life." That's it. That's the review. There's no analysis. There was no discussion. There's no real explanation. No coherent thoughts whatsoever. 3 days later, the book has sold 500,000 copies. Nobody knows what happened. Not even her. I imagine publishers are sitting in a conference room somewhere, desperately trying to figure out this phenomenon. They've got charts everywhere. They've got data everywhere, algorithms, pie charts, consumer behavior reports. They've got 20 focus groups on the go. And then somebody from marketing says, "So, what exactly caused this sales spike?" And the answer is, well, Jessica sobbed in her Honda Civic. That's it. That's the answer right there. BookTok runs on emotional damage. I'm sorry, but it's true. Traditional marketing says, here are 5 reasons you'll enjoy this novel. Blech, bland. BookTok says, this book emotionally waterboarded me. And somehow, that's more effective. Readers don't care whether a publisher spent 6 figures on a campaign. It's not something I'm interested in. I'm sure you feel the same. They care whether somebody they trust lost their freaking minds over it. Because recommendations, they've changed. Readers trust other readers. They don't trust corporations. They're not trusting advertisements, not carefully crafted marketing copies. Like, it's gone. Readers trust possession. They trust enthusiasm. They trust the person screaming into their phone at midnight. Karen from Ohio says, I haven't stopped thinking about this book for 6 months. And suddenly, well, I'm buying it. Because Karen has no reason to lie to me. Karen gains nothing. Karen simply appears emotionally compromised. And honestly, that there is the strongest recommendation possible. And that is what I'm looking for. A book doesn't need permission anymore. A book doesn't need a massive marketing budget anymore. A book just needs readers willing to scream about it online. Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? And that's a completely different world than the one traditional publishing was built for. Okay, it's time for everyone's favorite game of indie author or sleep-deprived raccoon. I will read a statement. You decide who said it. Statement number 1. I haven't slept in 3 days, but I did finish an entire project. Indie author or raccoon? The answer? Both. Statement number 2. I learned 12 new skills this week despite having no prior experience. Indie author or raccoon? Correct answer. Indie author. They are now somehow an editor, marketer, designer, accountant, social media manager, audiobook producer, and a therapist. Statement number 3. I found this shiny object and immediately became obsessed. Raccoon. Definitely a raccoon. Although indie authors and special edition sprayed edges, okay, are kind of making this answer a little convoluted. Statement number 4. I survived entirely on caffeine and spite. Indie author, but also probably, I reckon. Statement number 5. Nobody knows how I'm still functioning. Correct answer, both. Now, let's discuss what I think might be the biggest challenge facing traditional publishing today. I think it's risk, or more specifically, fear. Traditional publishing has become weirdly risk averse. And I do understand why. Publishing, that shit ain't cheap. Publishing is expensive. Printing is expensive. Marketing is expensive. Bookstore placement is expensive. And nobody likes to lose money. But here's what happens when industry becomes too cautious. They stop creating trends and start chasing them. Everybody wants the next big thing. Trouble is, nobody wants to discover the next big thing. They want fourth wing after fourth wing succeeds. They want ACOTAR after ACOTAR succeeds. They want whatever readers loved 6 freaking months ago. The problem? Readers move fast. And I don't just mean fast, I mean really fast. By the time a trend reaches acquisition meetings, production, the schedules, bookstore shelves, we readers have already moved on. I'm on to something else already, bro. Meanwhile, indie authors are out here doing literary podcasts, writing whatever weird idea enters their beautiful brains. Necromancer hockey romance, sentient house horror, monster dating shows. Oh, God, a 3-headed dragon reverse harem. I don't know, a romance between a woman and a door. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't even blink. And somehow, some of these books actually, weirdly enough, seem to still work. Not because they're safe. We're not looking for safe guys, because they're interesting. It's weird, right? Readers are discovering something important. Safe isn't memorable. You know what gets people talking? It's the weird stuff. You know what goes viral? The really weird stuff. Yeah. You know what decimates social media? Takes on a dominating role? The thing nobody expected. We are living in the golden age of weird books. And I gotta say, I absolutely freaking love it, because weird means creativity. Weird means experimentation. Weird means authors are taking some really big chances. Come on, some of these chances fail spectacularly, obviously, but some become massive successes. And those successes often start trends that traditional publishing will eventually catch up to. But come on, it's already too late. The innovation pipeline increasingly starts with indie authors. And for me, that's absolutely wild. I am hooked. I'm gripped. I am so intrigued. It is not even funny. All right. Now, I have never worked at Penguin Random House. I just want to say that, okay? But I feel confident that I could get fired from Penguin Random House within the first 45 minutes of walking through the front door. Maybe even faster than that. Okay, so these are the things that would get me fired. Day 1, the meeting has started. An executive says, you need to find the next trend. I raise my hand. Why don't we publish books readers actually want? Well, now here comes security to escort me out the building. Okay? Second offense, executive. We don't think readers are interested in this concept. Okay. Me. Did readers tell you that? Or did Gary tell you that? Now, who's Gary? Why does Gary decide everything? Ah, there's me back out the front door. Third offense. Should we publish this debut author? Me. Did she make me cry? Did she emotionally destroy me? Did I text my friends about it? Publish it. Immediately. I'm escorted from the building. Fourth offense. Should we spend 6 figures on marketing? No. Give the book to 20 unhinged book talk women and watch what happens. The entire room gasps. I am escorted from the premises. And just because I haven't finished putting nails in my coffin just yet, the final offense. Somebody says we need another enemies to lovers romantasy. Ugh. I suggested a haunted Costco horror novel instead. Woo! Straight to jail, Stacey! Okay, so is traditional publishing dying? No, probably not. At least not anytime soon. Traditional publishing at this point still matters. A lot. It still offers things that indie publishing can't always provide. We're talking mass distribution, bookstores, libraries, getting those major literary awards, the foreign rights teams that you need to have, the industry expertise, the prestige, the unprecedented level of support. Traditional publishing isn't disappearing anytime soon, but is it losing its monopoly on success? Oh, hell yeah! Absolutely. And that's the real story. The gatekeepers no longer have control of the gates. The internet blew the gates to smithereens. Readers have choices now, choices they didn't have before. Authors have choices now, choices they didn't have before. And honestly, I think that's good for everybody. Competition creates innovation. Innovation creates opportunities. Opportunities creates better outcomes for readers and writers. The future probably isn't traditional versus indie. I think that was really the wrong question to be talking about. I honestly believe that the future is hybrid. The future is flexibility. The future is authors choosing the path that works best for them. And sometimes that is obviously going to be traditional. But sometimes that's going to be indie. Sometimes that's going to be both. But the fact that authors even have those choices, oh, that's revolutionary. And if you are an inspiring author listening to me right now, this is what I really hope that you take away from all of this. Honey, you don't need permission to create. You don't need somebody's permission to write. You do not need permission to tell stories. And you definitely do not need permission to write that absolutely unhinged idea currently living in your notes app. Do it. Because apparently readers are willing to read literally anything. And I do mean anything. A dragon romance? Sure. A sentient house? Why the hell not? A shadow daddy with wings and emotional baggage? Yes, please. We've built entire economies around that. The point is this: the publishing world is changing, it's adapting, and it's moving faster than you would ever believe. Nobody knows exactly what it will look like in 10 years from now. How can we? But one thing is certain: readers have more power than they've ever had before. Authors have a lot more opportunities than they've ever had before. And for me, that is so damn exciting. So, no, traditional publishing isn't dead, but it is being forced to evolve. And honestly, I honestly think this is good news. It's good news for authors, it's good news for readers, it's good news for all of us. Even the sleep deprived raccoons writing books at 3 a.m. Actually, you know what? Especially for them. This is your time. This is your moment. I'm so excited for you. We're just going to finish off with a little game of The Bachelor Publishing Edition. Welcome back to Publishing Red Flags, the games where we decide whether we date a publisher, block a publisher, or file a restraining order against a publisher. Today's contestant is traditional publishing. Let's see if they are husband material. Red flag number 1. We absolutely loved your manuscript. Aw, that's nice. When can readers buy it? Sometime in 2029. So, I asked when the book was coming out, not when humanity colonizes Mars. Red flag! Okay, red flag number 2. We're looking for fresh and new ideas. Oh, amazing! I love innovation. I absolutely adore creativity. Love it when they take chances. So, what are you looking for? Can you write ACOTAR, but different? Sir, please, that's not innovation. That's photocopying. Red flag! Red flag number 3. We don't know how to market this. All right, what is it? A fantasy romance? Romantasy? A thriller? A horror novel? Oh, a cozy mystery? No. It's a woman over 30. Immediate panic. Red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Red lights. Police sirens. Fire, fire, fire. Red flag number 4. This genre isn't selling. Then explain Book Talk. Explain Kindle Unlimited. Explain why Susan from Idaho just sold 700,000 copies writing dragon smut in her guest room. Oh, wait. Final verdict. Traditional publishing receives 3 roses and 12 restraining orders. Guys, these are just my unhinged opinions. Tell me what you think. Is traditional publishing dying? Is it a dinosaur? Would you rather read traditionally published books? Or are you swinging into the indie books camp? And what's the most unhinged indie premise you've ever seen actually work? I need to know. So you're going to drop those in the comments because I can literally guarantee that somebody is already out there writing it. And honestly, good for them. Until next time, stay scandalous, stay bookish, and keep being Litdulterous Whores you were born to be. I hope you have the reading week you deserve, readers, and I will catch you next week. Take care.